الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. After discussing chapter 9, we are now dealing, which is actually chapter 8, which is entitled Never Wonder, explaining the content of the chapter, the title, everything related in the previous video. A brief summary about that chapter. This can be put in Louisa and Tom's discussion about how they feel towards the life they have. Tom is bored and he is ready to blow all the facts and the figures, and those who teach them put thousands barrels of gunpowder and blow them up. The bond of a brotherhood, which is highlighted in this chapter between Louisa and Tom, and some references that foreshadow a kind of relationship to be developed between Bounderby and Louisa. So these are the main points that we tackled in chapter 8. As you know, Sissy now lives at the Gradgrinds, and she is engaging with them and going to school in order to learn, as Mr. Gradgrind promised. So this chapter highlights the progress of Sissy, how she is, let's say, reacting towards the new kind of life she has, and what kind of atmosphere she is living in here. So from the very beginning, the title of the chapter, the writer shows us the title is supposed to be dedicated for Sissy and her progress. Is she progressing in the School of Facts? Actually, the title is ironic in itself, as you know, because we as readers understand that Sissy is not that kind of person who might adapt with the School of Facts and that system. So she does not progress in that sense. She might be progressing in a different thing, which is an ironic situation that would disappoint Mr. Gradgrind and his philosophy. So the chapter begins with Sissy Jupe and her attendance at the School of Facts, how she is, let's say, adapting in that school. As you see here, the girl believed that her father had not deserted her. This is the writer speaking. The girl believed that her father had not deserted her. She lived in the hope that he would come back, and in the faith that he would be made happier by her remaining where she was. This gives us an idea about the kind of character Sissy has. She is a very strong character. She never loses hope. She is not desperate, and she keeps clinging to that hope that her father one day will come and find her, which is something different than the people of the School of Facts. Here at the School of Facts, as we know, the principles and statistics of facts are taught, which Sissy has been attending. What is the first principle of this science? The absurd answer. Here we have how Sissy is accepting the facts of the school, as Mr. Chocolate is teaching. So he is asking about the political economy here. Political economy. She had only yesterday been set right by a prattler 3 feet high for returning to the question. So what is that? What is the first principle of this science, political economy? The absurd answer of Sissy was to do unto others I would that they should do unto me. Yani, I react to others the same way as they behave towards me. Yani, tit for tat maybe. Gradgrind observed, shaking his head, that all this was very bad, that it showed the necessity of infinite grinding at the mill of knowledge, that Sissy is not adopting the School of Facts system, and she needs to be submitted to the infinite grinding and the mill of knowledge as per system schedule. So she is not flexible to accept these ideas. That's why she needs more efforts and more work according to Grind. Louisa had endeavored to make her perplexities for next day something clearer to her. I should know so much, Miss Louisa. Look how she addresses Louisa, Miss Louisa. All that is difficult to me now would be so easy then. You might not be the better for it, Sissy. As if we are seeing a kind of developing relation between Sissy and Louisa. They now sit together and chat about some issues. Here we find Louisa comforting Sissy that she is not up to learn the school of fact system, the ideas, the sciences. So she tells her, you are more useful to my mother and more pleasant with her than I can ever be, Louisa resumed. You are pleasanter to yourself than I am to myself. But if you please, Miss Louisa, Sissy pleaded. Oh, I am so stupid. So here, this quotation gives us an idea that Sissy is better than Louisa in certain respects, in many respects actually. She could be better in dealing with Mrs. Gradgrind, and Louisa also highlights an issue here that she is not pleasant with herself. She is not satisfied with the kind of life she has. You are pleasanter to yourself than I am to myself. So this kind of dissatisfaction is highlighted in this chapter. And of course it was very much highlighted in the previous chapter that Louisa is not satisfied with the kind of life she has, and the seeds of facts that were sown in her earlier when she was a little child have these seeds of facts have not taken strong roots, let's say. So she is not just like Bitzer, for example, the prototype of the school of facts. No, she is still not accepting that system in the way Bitzer did, for example. Louisa, with a brighter laugh than usual, told her she would be wiser by and by. Here we have the irony, because Sissy is, let's say, rejecting the system because it is incorrect according to the philosophy of the writer. Dickens is criticizing that system. It is not suitable for students, for children. So Louisa tries to comfort Sissy and tell her that, well, you will be wiser, while the people who give and take with that system will not be wiser the way they did. For example, Tom, Louisa, Bitzer, the others, Mr. Amchokumchild, those are not wiser. Those might be, for example, fuller. So here we have an ironic situation. You don't know, Sissy, half crying, what a stupid girl I am. All through school hours I make mistakes. So while attending school classes, she makes mistakes. Mr. and Mrs. Amchokumchild never make any mistakes. This is an arrogant situation as well, because those hold a whole mistaken system, which Dickens criticizes. They know everything. Tell me some of your mistakes. So here the writer tries to clarify whether Sissy is right or wrong, whether the school of the system of facts is correct to be taught to students, or it is wrong and should be deserted. Amchokumchild was explaining to us about natural prosperity. National, I think it must have been, observed Louisa. Yes, but isn't it the same? You had better say national, as he said so, returned Louisa with her dry reserve. National prosperity. and he said, now this schoolroom is a nation, and in this nation there are 50 millions of money. Isn't this a prosperous nation, girl number 20? So if you have these 50 millions in this schoolroom, and this schoolroom is a nation, isn't it a prosperous nation? So Louisa with her Sissy with her naivety and simple understanding of the case, I couldn't know whether it was a prosperous nation or not. It might not be a prosperous nation. And whether I was in a thriving state في حالة متطورة or not, unless I knew who had got the money and whether any of it was mine. منو حصل على هاي 50 مليون وإذا أنا حصلت على جزء من عدها. In this case I could say this is a prosperous nation, أمة متطورة, and a thriving state, ودولة متقدمة أو متطورة. So we cannot judge unless we share this money. We have some part of this money. But that had nothing to do with it. It was not in the figures at all, said Sissy, wiping her eyes. So this example represents the writer's viewpoint, actually, on the tongue of Sissy. And Sissy seems to be correct, in contrast to the school of facts people who are wrong in this case. So here also lies the irony. I know it was now. Then Amchakum child said, we try me again. This schoolroom is an immense town, and in it there are millions of inhabitants, and only 520 are starved to death in streets in the course of a year. هذه المدينة ضخمة وتحتوي على 1,000,000 ساكن. فقط 25 شخص من عندها يموتون جوعا سنويا. So what's your remark on the proportion? شنو تعليقك يا سيسي على هذه النسبة؟ And my remark was, I thought it must be just as hard upon those who were starved. من الصعب جدا على ذول اللي يموتون جوعا. Whether the others were a million or a million. A correct viewpoint. So المسألة تتخص ذول 25 سواء كانوا الباقين مليون أو مليار. It doesn't matter for them because they are starved to death. And this percentage and this remark is wrong according to the school of facts and their system. And then Mr. Amchokam Child also started talking about stuttering. Sissy is made to mention this pronounce this word in such a way because she is not familiar with the statistics and cannot accept it. So she is saying stutterings. Miss Louisa, they always remind me of stutterings, and that's another of my mistakes, of accidents upon the sea. Another example is giving in order to measure the level of education of Sissy and how she is accepting facts or not. I find Amchokum Child said that in a given time 100,000 persons went to sea and long voyage, and only 500 of them were drowned or burned to death. What is the percentage? And I said, Miss, here fairly sobbed as confessing with extreme contrition to her greatest. I said it was nothing, miss, to the relations and the friends of the people who were killed. So that 100,000 is nothing for those who were killed. So these principles are they belong to the political economy, and if let's say 50 million people are living happily with fortunes, with money, it doesn't matter if 500 5,000 other people are living in poverty or in under bad circumstances. But for Sissy's understanding and her mentality, this is wrong, because if there is 5 people among 1 million are living bad conditions, then um, this rate is counted, and she cares about them just like the other million. So this clarifies how Sissy is developing in the School of Facts. Actually, she is trying to give us an idea that the School of Facts is wrong, and they have wrong and false principles. Actually, the writer himself, this is the philosophy of Dickens. He is trying to show us that these principles are wrong and need to be set right according to the speech of Sissy. Now we move from the School of Facts, and after we understand how Sissy reacts towards the philosophy of facts and their principles, we move to a more personal level between in Sissy's life. This kind of discussion between Sissy and Louisa, of course, reveals something about their characters. The strength, the fancy, the love, the passion that Sissy tries to transfer from herself to others. So instead of being a School of Facts student, now she is trying to attract Louisa, her sister Jane, Tom, the Gradgrind family, and give them some of the fancy aspects of life. Father was quite a scholar. Father says, and now in her question, Louisa's question to Sissy about her mother, she says, Father says she was quite a scholar, Sissy's mother. She died when I was born. She was, Sissy made the terrible communication ever. She was a dancer, and this is banned in the School of Facts, you know. Did your father love her? Louisa asked these questions with a strong, wild, wandering interest peculiar to her, an interest gone astray like a banished creature and hiding in solitary places. So this reflects how Louisa is intense, how she is, let's say, eager, how she misses these aspects. تفتقد إلى هاي الأمور. So she asks these questions passionately. Did he love her? Did you talk to your father at night? Did he touch your head? Did he sing to you? Did you read to him? All these questions reveal a kind of passion that is missing in the character of Louisa, which reflects that she has not been a good student of facts, because she has these doubts. There were doubts, the doubts that pushed Louisa and sent her to the circus in order to peep from the loophole of the circus. Oh yes, as dearly as he loves me, he loved my mother. As he loves me, father loved me first for her sake. He carried me about with him when I was quite a baby. We have never been asunder from that time. Yet he leaves you now, Sissy, only for my good. This is repeated because it's mentioned more than once. Tell me more about him. I will never ask you. To make the people laugh, this is the job of Sissy's father. He was a clown, muharrij, who makes people laugh with a nod of intelligence. Yes, but they wouldn't laugh sometimes, and then father cried. This reflects the kind of passion and feeling that the circus people live and have for their society. They cry because they cannot make people laugh, compared to Mr. Gradgrind, who never smiles, or Bounderby, who never laughs. This is how the writer portrays them. And your father was always kind. When a person asks this question, he must be in deficiency of these things. He must suffer from the lack of this kindness. So Louisa, because she does not have that kindness that her father provides, she asked Sissy about these issues. To the last, asked Louisa. Always, always. He was kind, always, always, returned Sissy, clasping her hands kinder and kinder than I can tell. So her father was very kind with her. He loved her so much. So now we need to create a kind of comparison between the kind of life that Sissy had with her father with the kind of life that Louisa has with her father. So now we, as a neutral people, readers, need to balance these kind of relations, these kinds of schools, and now we can tell, easily can tell, which one is correct and which one is supported by the writer. Dear Miss Louisa, said Sissy, covering her eyes, I came home from school that afternoon and found poor father just come home too from the booth. Here the issue of Mr. Jupe's departure. She came from school and found her father bruised, so she went to the booth in order to bring the 9 oils. When she returned, she found him away. He went away. This now we stop before Tom interferes. Another, let's say, aspect to be added to the chapter. Tom enters the scene. Only father has brought old Bounderby home. Here, Tom says to Louisa that Bounderby is at their home, and I want you to come into the drawing room, because if you come, there is a good chance of old Bounderby's asking me to dinner. As you see in the previous chapter, we said that Tom tries to sacrifice his sister for his own needs, for his own benefits. And we see him here as an opportunist, شخص انتهازي مصلحتي person. So he is ready to sacrifice his sister just to get a dinner with Bounderby. And Louisa, because of her love and passion to her brother, she says, I will come directly, I'll wait for you. And then another reference, Louisa cannot depart or leave Sissy because she likes to hear these stories. So she stays with Sissy. When I had no more left to tell, he put his arms round my neck and kissed me a great many times. As you see here, Louisa missed these things from her father, and that's why she suffers this kind of life. Look sharp for all Bounderby, Lou, Tom remonstrated. I say look sharp. Do look sharp for all Bounderby. With an impatient whistle, he will be off if you don't look sharp. And here you find Tom is pushing Louisa to engage in looks with Bounderby for his sake. Later, when Gradgrind comes home, Sissy asked if he received a letter from her father, and Gradgrind regularly answered, "No, Jupe, nothing of that sort." The trembling of Sissy's lip would be repeated in Louisa's face, and her eyes would follow Sissy with compassion to the door. As you see here, the writer made the influence of Sissy on the family of Gradgrind is very evident in this chapter. We see Louisa is very influenced by Sissy and her words. So now Sissy is just like bringing Louisa to her side by telling her these stories. So the chapter highlighted some points. The setting is the school at the beginning, and then we move to the Gradgrind's house. We have that relationship between Louisa and Sissy has developed further because they sit together and they speak about Sissy's past and her case with her father. some reference to Sissy's mother, who was a dancer, and she was very loved by her husband, Mr. Jupe. Sissy and the School of Facts, how she adapt in the School of Facts. We have so many examples that reflect Sissy is correct and the School of Facts is wrong, which are ironic situations. And finally, we need to compare the life of Louisa while she was a child with Sissy. Sissy was brought up with warmth, with love, with passion, whose father used to carry her wherever he go. He used to hug her, he used to kiss her. While this is missing in Louisa's life. If we try to highlight this issue, the significance of this chapter has a few points that could serve the novel. It presented the development of the character of Sissy, actually. Sissy has developed further. We learned a lot about Sissy, her past, her mother. And it also reflects the development of the relationship between Sissy and Louisa. We see Louisa is very ready to be to hold the principles of fancy, as we see, and we understand that the seeds of facts that Gradgrind saw in Louisa when she was a child have not taken the right roots. And Louisa now is ready to accept so many things from Sissy, and some references to Bounderby and Tom, and how Tom is ready to sacrifice his sister for his own sake. These are the main points that chapter 9 highlighted. Okay, thank you.